Deuteronomy chapter 13. Let's get to it here. If there arise among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and giveth thee a sign or a wonder. Look at what he says here. He is telling you that they are going to give you a sign and wonder, that they're going to be able to do that. They're going to be able to give you a sign and a wonder. And the sign or the wonder come to pass. So it's going to happen. Whereof he spake unto thee, saying, Let us go after other gods which thou hast not known, and let us serve them. But false prophets, they use signs and lying wonders to get you to serve other gods. Do you understand that? That's what they do it for. Is the sign given? The sign is given to get you to worship, to get your eyes off of the King James Bible and get you to worship another god. So they're going to do signs and lying wonders because they have the spirit of lying. They have that false spirit. So everything they say is mingled with falsehoods. I didn't say everything they say is false. I said they have the spirit of false behind them. A fraudulent, counterfeit spirit. The signs, lying wonders, the signs, lying wonders, and miracles are done to promote a false worship. But I'm really not going to focus on that today. Although I was thinking about it, but I'll save that for another teaching down the road. Right? But there's something that stuck out more. It says here, if thy brother, the son of thy mother, or thy son, or thy daughter, or the wife of thy bosom, or thy friend, which is as thine own soul, entice thee secretly, saying, Let us go and serve other gods, which thou hast not known, thou nor thy fathers, namely of the gods of the people which are round about you, nigh unto thee, or far off from thee, from the one end of the earth, even unto the other end of the earth. Thou shalt not consent unto him. Nor hearken unto him, neither shall thine eye pity him, neither shalt thou spare, neither shalt thou conceal him, but thou shalt surely kill him. Thine hand shall be first upon him to put him to death, and afterwards the hand of all the people. And thou shalt stone him with stones, that he die, because he hath sought to thrust thee away from the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage. Now we understand that was the age of the law. This is the age of grace. However, there are some important pictures there that Jesus teaches the spirit of that command is to be followed today. I did not say the physical command is to be followed. No, I'm going to show you how Jesus teaches us a principle here about dealing with true love versus Antichrist love. And I'm going to show you what God showed me here. And again, we don't believe in harming anyone, and I'll show you from the scriptures. So we're preaching on this corner. Here comes the transgender, and he's mad. Okay, he's upset. And you're going to see the manipulation and the fake love versus true love. And then I'm going to switch back over to the scriptures and show you exactly what this person is doing. Is the exact same thing that other lost people do that are in your life. It's a perverse view and a perverse understanding of what true love is. But it's one that the world pushes. It pushes it when we're out in evangelism, when we're evangelizing the world. They push that. Right? Your friends and your family do the same thing to you. And I'll show you that. Okay? Now, here's the thing. They say God accepts everybody. No, God doesn't accept everybody. See, that's not God's love. That's not God's love. It isn't. I'm going to show you what God says about his love and what true love is. See, what they're preaching and teaching, they have a false spirit. That same spirit in Deuteronomy 13 that says, I'm your family. You're supposed to love me. No, what you're asking me to do is to love you over loving God. I'm going to show you this in the scriptures. Here's what they're doing. And here's what your family will do, and here's what Jesus warned about. They're going to ask you to love them over God. They're asking you to commit idolatry. That's what they're asking you to do. And what do? They use emotional, manipulative pleas to get you to do that. Here's the emotional plea, the manipulation that's going to come. By the way, Jesus warned of this. I'm going to show you. Jesus warned of this. Okay? So we'll go to the scriptures here. Let's see. Let me see what Bible verse I want to go to. Oops, not that one. Let's see. Find the Bible verse here. Luke. We'll go to Luke chapter 9. Because here's where they try to change the definition of love. Right? I think it's here. Let's see. Well, nope, that's not the right one. Matthew 10:37. Sorry. That's a different one. I'm going to get to that in a second. Matthew 10:37. Check this out. Because this is what they're doing. He that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Now you understand this one thing. What is Jesus saying? You are not allowed to love others more than you love me. What does that mean? I'm not allowed to hearken unto the voice of my son, of my daughter, of my wife, of my friends, of anybody else. I'm not allowed to do that. I'm to love God. I'm to love the Lord above all those people. Because here's what Jesus said. I believe it's Luke. He that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. But he says it another way too. He says it in Luke chapter, let's see, 14, I believe. If any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and his wife, his children and brethren and sisters, yea, his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. What's being said here? Here's what's being said here. Jesus is saying that your love comparatively is to be so great to me that others will think you hate them. That doesn't mean we're mean to them, we abuse them, we're unkind to them. No, it means that we love God supremely, and when we're asked to compromise our love for God, we say, no, I cannot do that. And that's what devils, and that's what lost people, and that's what your compromising family and others will ask you to do. And when they do that, they are no different than this. When they're asking you to sin against God and come between your relationship with God and get you to defy God, they are telling you that you hate them because you won't. And in a sense, they're right, but not the way they think. We don't hate them we don't wish harm on them. We don't want to see them die. We don't want to see bad things. We don't hate them like that. Like their definition of hate. But our love for God is so much greater. Transgenders that are trying to preach a gospel to us is their version of love. But God's version of love says, if you love me, keep my commandments. God's love found in the Bible is holy. God's love is a holy love. Jesus Christ is first the King of righteousness, then he is the King of peace. But how do you preach God? You don't love everybody. Well, that's just it. I do love God. And because I love God, I love you the proper way. Do you understand that? If I love God rightly, in the right way, then I love man the right way. I love my fellow man the way that God says I should, but my love to God always dictates my love to man. Okay, let me show you that. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy might. Love to God is first. Let's see. I think it's in here. Let me find it. Here it is right here. But when the Pharisees had heard that he had put the Sadducees to silence, they were gathered together. Then one of them, which was a lawyer, asked him a question, tempting him, and saying, Master, which is the great commandment in the law? Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. The second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Well, you must not be loving those. When you had put the Sadducees to silence, Jesus, you're not loving like God. See what I mean? But what did Jesus say? My love to God is first. And if my love to God offends you, because it's according to the scriptures, not anything else, not sinning, not living wickedly, not abusing that, but if I love the Lord my God and I obey him and follow him, and his word rightly divided and understood, and that offends you, my love to him is to be greater. So that if you think I hate you because I won't give in to you, right? Then it's the way it goes. Do you see and understand the absolute wickedness and debauchery of those people? How deceived they are by a spirit of deception? How wicked and twisted they are? Now, here's where they use the manipulation. Here's what they say. Well, you're not going to love your son anymore? See, what is that? I'll show you what it is. It's the same thing that... Do you know that these are still Bible times? Right? These are still Bible times. People say, "Oh, that stuff happened back in Bible times." No. These are still Bible times. Because they're going to say, well, you hate us. You're going to hate your son? No, I'm going to love my God. That's what I'm going to do. And there went a great multitudes with him, and he turned and said to them, if any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, in his own life also he cannot be my disciple. Do you see what I mean? What am I saying? What I'm saying is, no, I'm going to love my God supremely. That's what I'm going to do. And by that, I'm going to teach my son what proper love is. Proper love is not me accepting his sin. Look at what it says here. Thou shalt, you know what hate is? What true hate is this right here. Leviticus 19:17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. See it? Not suffer sin upon him. See, that's hate. To suffer sin upon them. To be like, oh, I'll accept you. No, I won't. I'll never accept that sin. That doesn't mean you're not my son. That doesn't mean somebody else, my family member. It means that I'm not going to accept it. That's right, Brother Ross, who changed the truth of God into a lie and worship and serve the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. It means that I'm not going to accept it. You love God, but this is your son. Yeah, I know. And what's God's order? Just like it is for my wife or anybody else. God's order is for me to love my God. And my friend, Jesus said it because it'll be tested. It'll be tested. See? It'll be tested. Your love for God will be tested. You have to understand that. It'll always be tested. And it'll be tested with the people you love. But what are they saying? What they're saying is that it's your fault, but it's not the person's fault that's committing the sin that's against God. Right? Do you see what I mean? It's not their fault for sinning and they wreck their lives. Sin wrecks your life, and you can blame anybody else for sin if you want to. You can blame not being raised by your mom and dad or being hurt when you were a child or any of those things, but at the end of the day, you're going to answer to God. Your mommy and daddy aren't going to be at the white throne judgment or the judgment seat of Christ for you. You are going to stand alone before a thrice holy God, and you better be right with him. That's all I can tell you. You better have trusted Christ as your Savior, and you better be following the Lord, because you're going to stand before God by yourself. There's nobody else you're going to be able to blame for your sin. Oh, now here comes the emotional twisting of manipulation. Would you want your son dead? Or would you rather have him alive and gay? Well, I'd rather see him be dead and in heaven than be alive and be a queer. That's what I'll tell you. I'd rather see him in heaven than see him live wickedly down here on this earth. I can tell you the truth of that. It would break my heart that he was gone, but I would love to see him in heaven and not down here and breaking my heart and sinning against God. You talk about God all you want to, but just quit mentioning sin. Don't talk about sins. See, they don't want you to talk about sin. Right? They don't want you to talk about sin. Well, if you talk about God, the first thing you talk about is God's holiness, God's righteousness, God's wrath, God's law. Anyway, so there you go. That's what happened. Now, see, their version of love is way different than what we believe and the scriptures teach. Their version of love is not God's version. God says to love him supremely, to follow him. Their love is Antichrist love. If you invert those two commands, you're guilty of idolatry. If you love your wife or your children or your family more than you do God, Jesus said you cannot be my disciple. That's the difference. That's like the major difference in the love. You know, people will always try to get you, your friends, your family, whoever. They will attempt, especially new Christians when they first get saved, their family members will attempt to talk them in and to make them feel bad that they're to love them, or a spouse or anything else, that they're to love them more than they do God. You mark it down, friend. Jesus said it would happen. That's an Antichrist love. It's not the love of the Bible. It's not the love that we've been taught. It's not scriptural love. That's not what it is. Hope you learned some things in there. You know, I hope it made some sense to you. And you understand the real battle that we face out there as we preach the Word of God in the open air, bring the truth to people, and the opposition that is there while we do it. It's very real. The opposition is real to the truth, to the gospel. It is hated. All right? It is hated. Not listen to Delilah got Samson when sheep marry goats. You ought to listen to that sermon. You really should. I think that sermon would help you a lot. I think that it would, and I think you ought to listen to it. That's for people that are not married. Share it with people. Get the truth out there with people so they can really see what's happening, so they understand what's going on in their world today. It's important that people kind of understand what's up out there, and how people deal with things, and how the lost world really is.